The Sony Walkman portable cassette player clipped to someone's belt with foam headphones was the perfect accessory to make you look cool while jogging, commuting, or pretending not to hear your mom calling you for dinner. The 1980s were absolutely packed with products that promised to revolutionize your life, and some actually did. But for every innovation that changed the world, there were a dozen that crashed harder than your favorite mixtape after leaving it on the dashboard in July. Do you remember rushing to the store for the next big thing only to watch it disappear from shelves 6 months later? Join us as we explore 25 innovative 1980s products that totally failed. The decade was pure ambition wrapped in neon. Companies were not just competing, they were gambling. Boardrooms buzzed with wild ideas. Marketing teams dreamed bigger than ever. Engineering departments pushed boundaries nobody knew existed. Some of these creations changed how we live, work, and play. Others became expensive lessons in what not to do. These failures were not quiet disappointments that faded away. They were spectacular crashes that made headlines, sparked lawsuits, and left companies scrambling to explain what the heck they were thinking. Back in 1983, Sony thought they had cracked the code on home video. The Betamovie BMC 100 combined camera and recorder into one sleek unit, eliminating the rat's nest of cables that turned earlier camcorders into two-person operations. Just point, record, and capture your memories. Revolutionary, right? Except for one tiny problem. It only recorded on Betamax tapes. Now, Betamax looked sharper than VHS. Everyone admitted that. But VHS won the war by offering something families actually needed: longer recording times and shelves full of rental tapes at every video store. The Betamovie's fatal flaw ran deeper than losing the format battle, though. After filming your kid's birthday party, you could not watch it back on the camera. You had to pack everything up, drive home, and hook the whole thing up to your Betamax deck. In a world that was falling in love with instant gratification, this felt like going backwards. Add a price tag that made most dads wince at the camera store, and you have yourself a beautiful piece of engineering that nobody wanted to buy. If you thought Sony fumbled, wait until you hear what RCA did next. In 1981, the Radio Corporation of America launched Selectivision, with the kind of fanfare usually reserved for moon landings. These movie discs looked like vinyl records on steroids, oversized and grooved, and they came in plastic caddy sleeves that you shoved into a tabletop player. The future of home entertainment had arrived. Except the future scratched. Easily. A fingerprint could ruin your movie night. A speck of dust turned Raiders of the Lost Ark into a stuttering mess. And unlike VHS tapes that let you record your favorite shows, pause during bathroom breaks, and fast forward through boring parts, CED could only play movies straight through. No tricks, no features, no recording your soaps while you were at work. RCA had spent over a decade and millions of dollars developing technology that was already obsolete when it hit stores. They pulled the plug within a few years, having learned an expensive lesson about actually watching what consumers wanted instead of what engineers thought was cool. Speaking of missing what people wanted, have you hit that subscribe button yet? We're diving deep into the decade's biggest disasters, and trust me, it gets even better from here. Atari decided 1984 was the year to turn every kid into a digital Picasso with the CX77 touch tablet. This flat drawing pad plugged into your Atari, letting you create colorful masterpieces on your TV using a plastic stylus and the Atari Artist software. With 128 colors and fill patterns, it seemed perfect for budding artists and creative kids. Here's the thing nobody figured out. What were you supposed to do with it? Beyond the one program it came with, exactly 0 software supported this tablet. You could not use it for games. You could not use it for homework. You could not use it for anything except drawing pictures that you would need a separate cassette recorder to save. Most families saw their Atari as a game machine that occasionally pretended to be educational. This tablet was the opposite, educational equipment pretending to be fun. Kids poked at it once, got bored, and went back to Pac-Man. The CX77 offered a peek into our digital future, but arrived about 15 years before anyone cared. The IBM PCjr disaster proves that even industry giants can face plants spectacularly. In 1984, Big Blue decided to dominate home computing the same way they owned the business world. The PCjr looked sleek with its beige case and promised IBM quality for families. Then people tried typing on it. The keyboard felt like pressing on Chiclet's gum. Seriously, that is what everyone called it, the Chiclet keyboard. Tiny, flat, mushy rubber keys made typing feel like punishment. For a company whose reputation was built on solid, professional equipment, this thing felt like a toy from a cereal box. It gets worse. Popular software would not run on it properly. Programs crashed. Games did not work. Frustrated buyers wondered how an IBM computer could not run IBM software. Despite frantic price cuts and desperate fixes, the PCjr died within a year. Big Blue had a big black eye, and the Chiclet keyboard became a punchline in computer magazines for years. Kodak thought they had revolutionized photography in 1982 with the Disc 4000 camera. The concept was brilliant. Ditch bulky film rolls for a flat circular disc that held 15 exposures. The camera itself was slim, pocketable, and dead simple. Pop in the disc, point, click. Photography for everyone. Then people got their photos back from the photomat and wanted refunds. The pictures were terrible, fuzzy, grainy, dark, and disappointing. Those tiny negatives on the disc could not capture detail worth a damn. Families were not documenting memories to end up with blurry smudges in their photo albums. They wanted sharp, clear images they could actually recognize. Even photo labs hated processing disc film. It was more trouble than it was worth. Kodak pushed forward for a while, probably hoping people would lower their standards. They did not. The Disc 4000 taught an important lesson. Innovative design means absolutely nothing if your product produces garbage. Remember when Apple made a so-called portable computer you needed a forklift to carry? The Macintosh Portable launched in 1989 as Apple's bold entry into mobile computing. At 16 pounds with its lead-acid battery, this thing weighed more than a bowling ball. Calling it portable was technically accurate the same way calling a cement block portable is technically accurate. Sure, you can carry it, but why would you want to? The keyboard was nice. The screen looked good, and the battery life was absolutely terrible. A few hours if you were lucky. Even worse, sometimes it would not turn on unless the battery was fully charged. Imagine lugging this beast to an important meeting only to discover it will not start because the battery hit 99% instead of 100%. Oh, and it cost nearly $5,000. Apple aimed to pioneer mobile computing, but instead created an expensive anchor that proved the technology was not ready. At least it was educational. It taught Apple everything not to do next time. All right, quick pause. If you have been binge watching these trips down memory lane more than you have been living in the actual present, maybe it is time to hit that subscribe button. I will keep bringing the 80s nostalgia and spectacular failures. You just click that little button and we are good. Trust me, we have some absolute disasters coming up that you will not believe actually made it to store shelves. Coleco tried riding their ColecoVision success straight into the computer market with the Adam in 1983. This complete system came with everything: a computer, a printer, a word processor, data storage, And it could even play Coleco Vision games. For under $500, it looked like the perfect family computer just in time for Christmas. Then customers opened the boxes and discovered they had bought expensive paperweights. Units arrived dead. Others worked for a day or two before dying spectacular deaths. The printer, which powered the entire system, sounded like a garbage disposal eating rocks, and it broke constantly. When it failed, the whole computer became useless. Even worse, the electromagnetic pulses from the printer would erase your data cassettes sitting nearby. Surprise, your homework is gone. Furious customers returned Adams to Sears and Toys R Us in droves. What should have been Coleco's triumphant computer debut became their bankruptcy speedrun. Then we hit peak 1980s corporate insanity with Colgate lasagna. Yes, you read that right. Colgate, the toothpaste people, made frozen lasagna. Picture yourself in the frozen food aisle, reaching for dinner, and seeing that familiar red and white Colgate logo on a box of Italian food. The same logo you associate with brushing your teeth before bed. The brand extension made sense to exactly nobody. Consumers saw Colgate and thought minty fresh, not delicious dinner. The mental image of toothpaste-flavored lasagna was enough to make most shoppers keep walking. Would it foam up when you heated it? Would it leave your mouth feeling clean? Those were not questions people wanted bouncing around their heads while choosing dinner. Grocery managers refused to give it shelf space. Shoppers refused to touch it. And Colgate quickly retreated back to oral care, having learned that brand recognition does not automatically transfer across categories, especially when those categories involve your mouth in very different ways. McDonald's created their own disaster with the McDLT. The burger arrived in a giant styrofoam clamshell split into two compartments. One side held the hot stuff, a beef patty, cheese, and the bottom bun. The other side held the cold stuff, lettuce, tomato, pickles, sauce, and the top bun. You assembled it yourself at the table. McDonald's even hired a young Jason Alexander to sing and dance about keeping the hot side hot and the cool side cool. The environmental backlash hit like a freight train. Those massive styrofoam containers created mountains of waste at a time when people were waking up to pollution problems. Nobody wanted to destroy the planet just to eat a hamburger. Plus, customers hated the do-it-yourself aspect. They came to McDonald's for fast, convenient food, not IKEA furniture assembly. Trying to flip the sections together usually resulted in sauce everywhere and lettuce on the floor. The McDLT vanished by the early 1990s, remembered mainly for wasteful packaging and for helping to launch Jason Alexander's career. Lifesavers thought extending their candy empire into soda was genius. Those colorful 5-flavor rolls were American icons. Why not drink those same flavors? The company hoped fans would love sipping what they already enjoyed chewing. Instead, they created liquid diabetes. The soda was so aggressively sweet that drinking more than a few sips made your teeth hurt and your stomach rebel. What worked perfectly as a small, hard candy became absolutely unbearable as a 12-ounce beverage. Those delightful fruit flavors, cherry, lemon, lime, and orange, turned cloying and artificial in liquid form. It was like drinking melted candy, except somehow worse. Despite the familiar branding and bright packaging, Lifesavers soda disappeared faster than you can say dental emergency. The company learned an important lesson. Not every successful product should be turned into a drink. Sometimes candy should just stay candy. In 1985, Coca-Cola executives made a decision so spectacularly bad that it is still taught in business schools as a cautionary tale. They decided to mess with perfection. After 99 years of the same beloved formula, they introduced new Coke, a sweeter, smoother taste that was supposed to win over Pepsi drinkers. What could possibly go wrong? Everything, absolutely everything went wrong. Americans lost their minds. People hoarded cases of original Coke like it was the apocalypse. Protest groups formed with names like Old Cola Drinkers of America. The company hotline received 400,000 angry calls. Some people claimed they were pouring new Coke down their sinks on principle. It was not just a product launch, it was a national crisis. News crews covered it like a political scandal. Late-night comedians had a field day. The backlash was so intense, so immediate, and so furious that Coca-Cola caved in just 79 days. They brought back the original formula as Coca-Cola Classic and quietly let new Coke fade into the hall of shame. The whole disaster proved one simple truth: do not fix what is not broken, especially when millions of people are emotionally attached to what you are trying to fix. Nissan's Pulsar NX Sportback tried solving a problem nobody had. What if you can't decide what kind of car you want? Launched in 1987, this compact car featured removable rear body panels that let you swap between a sporty fastback and a practical wagon. 2 cars in one. Brilliant. Except it was confusing as hell. The car looked awkward, especially with the wagon back attached. The extra panels cost money and had to be stored somewhere when you were not using them. So hope you have garage space for car parts. Buyers could not figure out what this thing was supposed to be: sports car, practical hauler, or a weird compromise that did neither thing well. Sales stayed disappointingly low as people chose cars with actual identities. Nissan took a creative swing and missed. It turns out people prefer their vehicles to know what they want to be. Mattel spent years promising to turn their Intellivision game console into a complete computer with the keyboard component. Television commercials and print ads hyped it endlessly, promising a cassette drive, a microphone, 16 kilobytes of memory, word processing, and programming. Gaming and computing in one system for your living room. Delays started immediately. Test markets did not see it until late 1981. The full launch did not happen until early 1982, and then only in select cities. When it finally arrived, it cost $600, and it had basically no software beyond a music synthesizer. Angry customers who had bought Intellivision consoles based on keyboard promises flooded the FTC with complaints. The government launched an investigation into Mattel's deceptive advertising. By mid-1982, Mattel pulled the plug and issued refunds. A 2-year hype train crashed into the reality wall, destroyed by delays, broken promises, and vaporware. Before we go any further, if you're enjoying this nostalgia trip through the 80s biggest failures, do me a favor and hit that like button. And hey, if you're on Facebook or Instagram, come join the conversation over there too. The comment sections are pure gold. People are sharing their own stories about these disasters. Someone's dad definitely still has a working Betamax in the basement. The Delorean DMC-12 looked like it drove straight out of a sci-fi movie. Brushed stainless steel body panels that never needed paint. Gull-wing doors that opened upward like a spaceship. When Back to the Future put one on screen in 1985 with a flux capacitor and time circuits, the DeLorean became a pop culture legend. Everyone wanted one. Actually driving it told a different story. The underpowered engine could barely get out of its own way, 0 to 60 in over 10 seconds. Pathetic for a sports car. The handling felt clumsy. The $25,000 price tag was insulting for what you got. The interior felt cheap, not luxurious. Build quality suffered as production rushed to meet deadlines at the Northern Ireland factory. Fewer than 9,000 were made before the whole operation collapsed under financial problems and founder John DeLorean's legal troubles. The Delorean DMC-12 succeeded as a movie star, but failed as an actual car. Gorgeous to look at, disappointing to drive, proof that cool designs cannot compensate for terrible engineering. Britain's Sinclair C5 launched in 1985 as inventor Sir Clive Sinclair's bold solution to urban transportation. This battery-powered tricycle sat so low to the ground it looked like a go-kart that had given up on life. It had white plastic bodywork, a 12-volt battery, and a price just under £400. Cheap, clean city transport. Drivers felt like they were asking to die. Sitting at bumper height in traffic meant every journey was a near-death experience as cars and trucks loomed overhead. The maximum speed of 15 miles per hour meant bicycles passed you. Rain, wind, and cold turned rides miserable with basically zero weather protection. Despite being an early electric vehicle, the C5 became a national joke. British television mocked it mercilessly. Production died within a year. The Sinclair C5 proved that being first does not matter if your product is terrible. The Commodore Amiga should have owned the late 1980s and early 1990s. Launched in 1985 with graphics showing 4,096 colors, 4-channel stereo sound, and real multitasking, it left competitors choking on dust. Video producers using Video Toaster, animators, and game developers recognized the Amiga's brilliant potential immediately. Then, Commodore systematically destroyed it through incompetence. Early models crashed constantly because they lacked memory protection. You needed multiple floppy disks just to boot the thing. Swap, 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 wait, swap again. Software developers focused on personal computers and on the Mac instead. Later Amiga models removed useful features to save pennies, enraging loyal users. Despite brilliant engineering, the platform died from corporate mismanagement and half-finished implementation. Users eventually abandoned ship for Windows and Mac. The Amiga became a legendary what-if story. Incredible potential, murdered by terrible business decisions. Sony's Walkman revolutionized music in the early 80s. Suddenly, your cassette collection was portable. Jogging, commuting, traveling, your music went everywhere. The sound quality was great, the design was cool, and everyone wanted one clipped to their belt. Sony created and dominated an entire category. Then, digital music arrived, and Sony froze like a deer in headlights. While competitors embraced MP3 players, Sony clung desperately to mini discs and other physical media. Apple saw the opening and launched the iPod, taking control of the digital revolution Sony should have led. Sony's music software was a nightmare compared to the simplicity of iTunes. By the time Sony woke up and released their own MP3 players, they had lost everything. The brand that defined portable music got steamrolled by the very revolution they pioneered. That's not failure. That's tragedy. RCA's SelectaVision video disc launched in 1981 as the future of home video. Movies came on discs that resembled vinyl records, and a stylus needle read them like a record player. It sounded familiar, and it sounded high-tech. RCA spent millions on marketing and manufacturing. The discs scratched easily. Dust ruined playback, and regular use degraded them quickly. Unlike VHS, which could record television shows and be controlled freely, video disc only played movies straight through with no extra features. VHS had already launched months earlier with better functionality at similar prices. RCA's system was dead on arrival. Sales crashed, and production ended by 1984. The failure helped sink RCA entirely, proving that being first means nothing if you are also wrong. The Atari 2600 launched the home gaming revolution in 1977, and it dominated the early 80s. Space Invaders, Pitfall, and Asteroids were everywhere. Atari printed money faster than the mint. Then, in 1983, the video game crash nearly destroyed the entire industry. Atari rushed garbage to market. E.T. the Extraterrestrial was so bad, it was almost unplayable, even though It was based on one of the biggest movies ever. Players fell into pits endlessly with no clear objectives. The Pac-Man port looked and played nothing like the arcade version, betraying millions who had bought consoles specifically for that game. Third-party developers flooded stores with absolute trash, and they destroyed consumer confidence. Shelves overflowed with unsold junk. The crash devastated everything. Truckloads of unsold cartridges were buried in New Mexico landfills. What started as a revolution ended in literal garbage burial. Atari led the industry off a cliff. Viewmaster tried jumping from their classic red photoreels into gaming with interactive vision in 1988. This VHS-based system let kids watch Muppets, Sesame Street, and Disney shows while making simple choices with a controller. Television meets gaming. The technology was pathetically limited. It needed a VCR, offered almost no real interactivity beyond button mashing, and felt like a toy pretending to be a game console. Meanwhile, the Nintendo Entertainment System delivered actual video games with Super Mario Bros. And The Legend of Zelda. Interactive vision couldn't compete with purpose-built consoles offering real experiences. Despite beloved characters and fun concepts, it vanished as kids chose actual games over interactive TV. After leaving Apple in 1985, Steve Jobs founded Next and released the Next Cube in 1988. This machine was RT, a perfect magnesium cube in matte black with advanced graphics, digital sound processing, and the elegant Next Step operating system. Jobs targeted universities and researchers who would appreciate cutting-edge tech. The $6,500 price destroyed it instantly. It could not run popular software, which limited its actual usefulness. Despite innovative technology and museum-quality design, almost nobody bought it. The next computer failed commercially, but won historically. Tim Berners-Lee used one at CERN to create the World Wide Web's first browser and server. Sometimes spectacular failures plant seeds for world-changing revolutions. Reebok's Pump technology launched in 1989 with massive hype. Basketball shoes had an inflation system in the tongue and around the ankle. You could pump them up using an orange basketball-shaped button for a custom fit. When NBA star Dee Brown wore them during his legendary dunk contest performance, pumps became the hottest footwear in America. The technology was mostly a gimmick. The pump did not actually improve performance, it just felt cool and looked different. Nike focused on real performance enhancements, while Reebok emphasized novelty. The shoes cost over $150 without a clear justification for the price. Once the excitement faded, people bought better engineered shoes. The pump became a nostalgic fashion memory rather than a legitimate athletic innovation. If the Delorean was a beautiful dream that could not drive, the Yugo was a driving nightmare that looked terrible too. This Yugoslavian import hit American shores in 1985 with one impressive feature: a price tag under $4,000. It was the cheapest new car you could buy, and boy, did you get what you paid for. The Yugo GV was a tiny, boxy economy car that promised affordable transportation. What it delivered was a mobile punchline. The cars broke down constantly, and we are not talking minor issues. We are talking windows that fell out while driving, engines that died on the highway, electrical systems that sparked for no reason, and rust that appeared faster than you could wash the thing. Dealerships became expert at explaining why your brand new car already needed major repairs. The jokes were relentless and everywhere. Johnny Carson and David Letterman had a field day. What do you call a Yugo at the top of a hill? A miracle? How do you double the value of a Yugo? Fill it with gas. What comes with every Yugo owner's manual? A bus schedule. The car became such a laughingstock that owning one felt like being in on a joke, except you were the punchline. Despite selling over 100,000 units in America, The Yugo's reputation for unreliability ended its run. By 1992, imports stopped. The Yugo earned its place in history as quite possibly the worst car ever sold in America, proof that cheap is not always a bargain. Fisher-Price released the PXL 2000 Pixel Vision in 1987, letting kids film grainy black and white video onto audio cassette tapes. The small white and gray plastic camera had a viewfinder, and it promised you could make your own movies like a real filmmaker. It even recorded sound through a built-in microphone. The $179 price tag scared away most parents, especially for such poor video quality. Kids made a couple of movies, got bored with the pixelated footage, and moved on. The PXL 2000 vanished after a year. Decades later, indie filmmakers rediscovered the camera for its lo-fi aesthetic, using it for music videos and experimental films. But as a mass-market toy, it was a complete flop. Too expensive, too limited, too niche. The Timex Sinclair 1000 hit stores in 1982 as one of the cheapest computers ever. It sold for $99 at Radio Shack. It promised computing for everyone with its black and white TV display, 2 kilobytes of memory, a membrane keyboard, and cassette tape storage. Every corner had been cut. The computer was painfully slow. The flat membrane keyboard frustrated anyone typing more than a sentence. Most useful software needed much more memory than the base model offered. Meanwhile, the Commodore 64 cost more, but it delivered real performance, real keys, and color graphics. Even upgraded versions of the Timex Sinclair 1000 could not save it. Initial sales were strong-based purely on price, but people quickly realized cheap does not mean valuable. The Timex Sinclair 1000 disappeared as buyers learned that bargain computers deliver bargain experiences. These 25 products prove that the 1980s were a decade of spectacular ambition and equally dramatic failure. Companies swung for the fences, took massive risks, and sometimes face planted in front of millions. Some were too early, some were too expensive, some were just plain terrible. But every failure taught lessons about innovation, marketing, and actually listening to what customers want. The 1980s gave us world-changing technology and hilariously bad ideas in equal measure, and honestly, that is what made the decade so unforgettable. Before we go, if you have been enjoying these nostalgic trips back to the 1980s, I have more videos exploring everything from retro tech disasters to forgotten food fads. Check them out, watch a few, and let me know what brings back the best memories for you. And if your basement still has a working Betamax, a Delorean in the garage, or one of those chiclet keyboards collecting dust, congratulations, you are living in a 1980s time capsule. Thanks for spending some time in the nostalgia with me. See you in the next video.